Hello and welcome to the CryptoWise channel. My name is Dave, and today's video we're going to be talking about SUI's bear market bottom targets and where to accumulate for the next 3 years of gains. One thing that's important to note is that SUI is very different than a lot of cryptos. It has actually not a lot of data to work with, so it's a bit speculative. But I will do my very best to give you some quality content on SUI. And yeah, welcome to the channel. In this channel, we focus on technical analysis, macro technical analysis, and facts in a chart so that we can have clarity and ease of decision making in the crypto market, laying out the highest probabilities based on chart patterns, confluence, and indicators. No news, no hype, no narrative, just cool, calm, and focused. We are in a bear market. Welcome to the bear market. Best opportunity in 4 years. And let's look at SUI and its potential targets. Now, like I mentioned, it is a bit different. SUI is a little bit different because we don't have a lot of data to work with. So from the start to where we are now, it's only been a few years. It's only been about 3 years. It would be 3 years in May. In May 2026, which is coming. So where SUI started, according to the chart, was May 2023, which is here on Bitcoin's chart, right? And Bitcoin had bottomed before that and went on a, well, since then, about a couple year, just about 2 years bull run, and is now retracing that bull run, right? Normal price action movement. And once we have bull run, we retrace, and then eventually we go back up again, which is how Bitcoin has been going. Yeah, there is a possibility that it doesn't go back up, but let's not. We're not really getting. That's for another video. So the point I'm getting at here is SUI started here around May 2023, which is right here, May 2023. Had its launch, and then since then we saw a rally into the new year of 2025, and SUI had performed very well from its swing low here in October and did about a 1,400% move. So one thing that's going on here is that to understand is that these lows here are massive bear market supports. If they break and the price goes lower, that's not a good thing. But the starting price of this thing was around 10 cents. So yeah, I'll revisit that in a moment. So from the swing high here that we had in January, so far we've come down already 83%. Now, some of these newer coins, they typically see a really big retrace because of its, just because it's new. So I'll have to compare that to Solana, and I'll show you this in a moment here. And Solana did something very, very similar. Solana actually saw a very big down on its first bear market, and still managed to see a really big move to the upside afterwards. So had this big rally, okay, into 2021 peak, and then Solana in its first ever bear market did 97% down, which is crazy if you think about it. And then if you had bought somewhere in that area, let's say you bought at 8.8, you know, Solana managed to do a 3,000% move, which is pretty crazy, right? So I have a bit of a sneaking suspicion that SUI might do something similar because it's its first ever bull run. It did a pretty dramatic move, and now it's on its way down. If it were to reach these lows here at 34, it would be 92% down from that swing high. the danger that it breaks below this level is that it could even go lower and hang around down there for a while. So it's a bit hard to give a high probability setup here for SUI, because I'm not even sure that it's going to perform well, because we haven't seen a second run, and we haven't seen how price would react from these lows. But if I were to purchase SUI, it would be in this lower zone, because we still haven't seen Bitcoin do its next leg down yet. We're still expecting more downside here. Bitcoin is starting to look more and more like a bear flag. Oops, more and more like a bear flag at the moment, which is what I'm expecting to see. Like I talked about in a previous video, so far we're holding a higher low and a low, which could potentially give us another high into here before we break down and we see this bear flag play out, and we could dump much more dramatically into this box, into the bear market box here that I have drawn out for some time now. So if this bear flag plays out, we're going to see a move into this area here, right around 46, most likely below that 53K area, and probably the price holding below that as resistance, right? So when the price breaks down and is below below a section of price, it acts as resistance, right? And when it's above, it acts as support. But if we have a bear flag, usually the momentum is as strong as the previous move down, or the flagpole measurement. So we should see a somewhat similar move if this plays out as a bear flag, very strong into the target, which should be around here, 46. Very common to see something like that, and we can see that this was a bear flag here, and if I measure it from the top to the wick and take it to where it started, we can see that the target was just about pretty much perfectly hit. Let me actually measure it from wick to wick just to get it precise. And if I take that measured move and I put it to the top of the top of the flag, which is how you're supposed to measure it, look, the target was 62,300. Okay, so yeah, expecting to see something very similar. It's possible it doesn't play out exactly like that, but we shall see. I'm still expecting to see somewhere around the new moon there being a top around here somewhere, and start its descent from there. April will likely be a pretty negative month. So if we're still expecting this big move to the downside, we have a potential 38% move down, and you know, if we measure the previous kind of bear flag that SUI did, I mean, it did a 60% move to the downside. If we were to do a 60% move to the downside from where this bear flag would start, I mean, it'll probably be more something like this. So far we're holding a higher low, and this is looking like a bear flag at the moment, right? I mean, it could morph into a move that takes it up a little higher. It could go as high as tagging this area here. So it is possible that it does something like this, like that, and then M's out and breaks down. So if we did, let's just be conservative and say it went higher, and I take the measured move out of this bear flag and put it like this, then it would put us down here at 17 cents, which would be a move of 83%, which is pretty aggressive. That doesn't seem right. It seems a bit aggressive. Something about this doesn't yeah, this is where sometimes we need to be we need to use context and other things to help us with our thesis. So if we did another 60% move, let's say the bear flag ended up being just a consolidation in here, and we do another 60% move from, let's say, the top of the range, it would put us into this area here. So we could have a repeat in terms of percentage, which would make a lot of sense, actually. I think this is more probable here, just because we're getting really close to this area. And this is a very, very important area. Like I mentioned, this is a very important area. This is basically a bear. This is a high probability this turns into a bear market support area. We don't yet have enough data to prove that thesis. It's just based on some altcoin behaviors, and that things like Chainlink ended up seeing a pretty dramatic move and ended up at very strong support area, ended up consolidating there for a while before it decided to go up. I believe that it's very possible that we see something similar here, a consolidation, a breakdown, and then the price just consolidating here for a while until Bitcoin finds a bottom. And then when Bitcoin finds a bottom, that SUI will start to see some relief from there, and potentially start forming some new structure. The other possibility is that we could see a move down into here and the price actually strongly react from that area because it's a major low, and the price actually bouncing like this, retag these areas, and then even moving all the way back down to test it again, making a higher low, and then moving up from there. These are two scenarios that I'm looking at. This area being a strong area where the price would react from, eventually retracing most of it before it goes back up, because altcoins are not going to start rallying without Bitcoin. It's just unheard of, at least not coins that are in the top 100. It's very uncommon, let's put it that way. It's very uncommon. So those are the scenarios I would suspect. It would make a lot of sense that this area gets tagged. I would say a good buy zone would be here. Personally, myself, I'm a little bit skeptical about SUI. I personally would like to see how the price would react to this zone. Before buying. As long as this area can hold a support, if it revisits, because we can see here, it's very common that on altcoins that are very volatile, like SUI, they tend to visit a low, bounce, and then revisit a low again before it actually goes up. We could see that happen here, right? And I would just like to see a reaction from this area, and we know that that area is strong support. And then buy back in the second time potentially, or back in this lower range later on. What in this situation, I would suspect that, and this is a few times I see this on Chainlink, on a few other coins like XRP, where altcoins will bottom into a major bear market support area, react to that area, and then they'll just consolidate and find a higher low. And that higher low will be right around where Bitcoin bottoms. So the example would be that works really well is on XRP. Let's see if I can pull up the chart, the proper chart. This one's already set up, so let's look at this. So see this low here, June 2022. This is the bear market of 2022. We had a low here in June. Boom. This low was not the Bitcoin's bear market low. Okay, Bitcoin's bear market low in June was not a low. Sorry, the bear market low was not in June. It was a low, but it did go lower, right? In fact, it went down lower in November. Let's say its lowest was November 21st, 2022. So if I go back to XRP, so it would have been, let's just put on the weekly chart, basically here, this drop. So as you can see, XRP formed a low, and then when Bitcoin formed a lower low, XRP actually held right there. And even in January, it made a higher low still. So it held higher lows when Bitcoin went lower. Okay. Chainlink, same thing. Low in May, June, and then it went sideways for a while, and then when Bitcoin actually bottomed in November 2022, it actually just made a slightly higher low, right? So common to see altcoins sort of build market structure before Bitcoin bottoms. So I can't guarantee that obviously for SUI, but it would make a lot of sense for it to do something like that because it's already down quite substantially, and I think that people will start buying in. But for me, I would wait until the price reacts to this level and see how it does. When it revisits that level, it would be probably the best time to actually buy if it in fact is in that area when Bitcoin bottoms as well, which I'll be talking about on this channel when it does. It should be somewhere in the neighborhood of this box, probably in the lower end. I'm suspecting that it could even break the lower part of this box and we see like 35. You know, it's also possible. I don't really want to move the box, but because it's the bottom of this wick and it just makes sense. But it could extend lower. It could extend lower. So anyways, this is what would make a lot of sense for SUI. The reason why I say it's skeptical is because the market is oversaturated and there's just a lot of cryptos. I don't think they're all going to make it. I think there's going to be a potentially good washout here for a lot of cryptos to just not do very well. There's plenty of coins that didn't perform well this cycle, and yeah, so that's why I think with SUI it would make sense to just wait and see how the price reacts to this low. And when Bitcoin officially bottoms, if the price is still in this zone or above, then I think that would be a great time to buy. A great time to buy. That's my opinion. But if the price breaks below this level and starts trending below this level, it could still be a good time to buy, but I'd be even more skeptical because it's a pretty important support level that so far has held, and it would just not look good at all if SUI broke below this box. All right. I think that's it for that. If you enjoyed the content, you find it helpful, please like, subscribe, share the video with somebody else. Maybe you know somebody else who would appreciate an SUI video. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.